right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. The town hall session begins right now. You can send in all your questions at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report when we pose all of them to Honorable Justin Muturi, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and he's now joining us live. He's in the race to State House. In fact, let's start by confirming that. Speaker, thank you so much for making time for us. So, can you confirm that you will be on the ballot in 2022 as a presidential candidate?
Thank you, Trevor, for having me this evening, and thank you for the question, and thank you to the viewers. I wish to confirm that I am firmly in the race for the presidency in come 2022.
Speaker, there is a perception that all the candidates and parties will, in the end, coalesce around 2 or even 3 candidates. Will you be one of the 2 or 3 candidates, or will you then coalesce to some of them who are considered to be the horses?
Well, for the time being, Trevor, I am concentrating on my beat and doing everything possible to traverse the country and sections. You know, everybody has their own, tricks and methodology of doing things. But I want to say that for the time being, I have not thought about any form of coalition. I do appreciate, though, that there may be a need for coalitions to work, and I've myself confirmed in the past that I know that proper coalitions can stabilize this country. But for the time being, I am trying everything possible under the sun to strengthen my bid.
What does a proper coalition look like, Speaker?
A coalition where political parties are not individuals meet and agree on certain parameters. First of all, you must be people that are reading from the same script. You must be joined by certain beliefs. And if you do, it becomes a lot easier to then begin to agree on common grounds. And not just 2 individuals or 3 individuals. It must be parties as parties. Remember, Trevor, part of the reason why in the 2010 Constitution we put 2 serious clauses, 91 and 92, is the realization that political parties are indeed institutions of public governance and must therefore be given constitutional recognition. Having done so, therefore, it then means that in fairness, proper coalitions must be between political parties and not individuals.
Yeah, Speaker, you are perceived as having very close relations with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Did you involve him in your political move to become the next president of this nation?
Well, of course, the president is busy, governing the country, and therefore his focus is not necessarily similar to mine, because I am looking into the future myself, and therefore it's only fair that I allow the president to do his bit while I concentrate on my desires.
But why Democratic Party and not Jubilee Party, the party that sponsored you twice?
Well, first of all, Jubilee Party did not sponsor me twice. It sponsored me only once in 2017, on the 31st of August 2017. In 2013, I was sponsored by TNA. One may argue that, of course, that the TNA, having merged with the URP and 12 others, formed Jubilee. But as you know, looking at Jubilee as it is now, you can see it is in shambles. I mean, it can only be somebody who is burying their hands in the sand who can imagine that Jubilee can be a viable vehicle. But more importantly, I've always had some very, very interesting long-term engagements with the Democratic Party since its formation, even when I was a civil servant. And therefore, I just found it a natural home for myself.
What did Jubilee get so wrong, Speaker, when you say that Jubilee is in shambles?
Well, I mean, it's there for everybody to see. There's so much squabbling, and you can never quite tell, who is Jubilee. Other than the members of parliament who are elected on the Jubilee tickets, Jubilee has no other structure. In fact, I'm surprised when I hear somebody saying that they are going to call Jubilee delegates, because the party has never held grassroots elections since its formation in 2016. Therefore, you can't quite tell who in the constituencies, in the counties is a member of Jubilee. Maybe the governors and the MCAs who are elected on its ticket, and the other officials at the national level, legislature, and the president and the deputy. There is nobody else who is known to be a Jubilee. All the others are interim officials who are handpicked to run the party at the headquarters. The party has no other known functionally, because it has never. We know it's a fact. Nobody can deny that. So really, Jubilee has not done what it should have done. Should have held a grassroots election so as to take the party to the grassroots and give it ownership down there.
What do you think of the perception that 2022 is shaping into a two-horse race between Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga?
Well, I'm happy, Trevor, that you've said it's a perception and that is not a reality, because they say a day in politics is a long time. We and several of us who have declared interest are busy on the ground, and we just have to wait and watch this space.
So when push comes to shove, Speaker, which one of them would you back?
For the time being, Trevor, I am actually concentrating only on my bid, because I remember it's a possibility that if the parties agreed, they can also back me. So, or any of them can back me. So I don't think whether it is right at this point for me to say that I would back this or the other, because I'm in a party, I'm in a political party. It's the party through its leadership that would meet and agree with me that we need to partner with any other party, not the individuals.
Have you had conversations with both of them? Because we saw Mount Kenya Forum meeting at least the One Kenya Alliance leaders.
That was just a breakfast meeting to just share ideas, about the happenings in the country. Nothing beyond that was ever discussed, and therefore, even with the others, I haven't discussed anything with them, because again, I firmly believe, Trevor, that even being picked as a presidential flag bearer by a political party does not make you a king. You cannot begin lording it over the party membership. You must at all times consult the leadership as well as the rank and file of the party to agree on a political direction. So I don't believe in owning parties. Parties should own you as a leader and not vice versa.
Do you think the current parties are more owned by the leaders or the other way around?
As I've said, majority of them are actually owned by their leaders. Majority of the parties in Kenya are owned by the leadership. So that because they are their own fiefdoms, they can take them whichever way they want to take them. But I'm happy that the Democratic Party believes in internal democracy and the consultation among leadership as well as rank and file.
Speaker, you sound very steadfast on this race to State House. What really informs your quest for the presidency of this nation, and how will your government operate? Where will you start?
Trevor, I have been in politics now for some time, a reasonable time, and particularly in Parliament. And I have a fairly good view of what ails this country. Trevor, this country is not short of grand and great ideas. We've had the Big Four agenda, for instance, great ideas. We've had Vision 2030. But you know, Trevor, the problem is not lack of the ideas. The trouble with Kenya is implementation of those ideas. And I think it is there that any government, any serious government that is bent on reinventing a new Kenya must begin by serious soul searching. Among them, where did the rain begin beating us? When people want to serve in government must make a choice between serving in government and doing business with the government. You cannot be doing business with government while the same offering service to the public. There is a contradiction there. And that is where the problem is. We must begin to address this thing seriously. And that is the root cause of this endemic corruption that we see in this country. Year in, year out, Trevor, as you know, the Auditor General reports to Parliament, and in all those reports, you see waste. I've chaired the Public Investments Committee for 5 years in the past. I see those reports in the parastatus, in government ministries. But do we see any hands rolling? Why is it that we don't see that happen? We must begin asking ourselves, why is it that no action is being taken? And let's be serious. We must begin with ourselves. If we have any dark spots, let those dark spots be pointed out.
And how would you deal with corruption, Speaker? Let's talk about that, because you're right. I mean, there seems to be little action being taken. If you're the head of state, what are the first steps you would take?
I think, Trevor, my view is that we need, first of all, a serious national conversation where everybody states their case. What is it that makes them not perform? Because you go to any ministry or parastatus, there is a lot of rot. We must begin by everybody declaring what it is that is impeding them from doing the right things. I know, for instance, Trevor, we've done tremendously well with road infrastructure, but at what cost? Could it not have been done at a cheaper cost? We've been trying to implement the universal health coverage, but when we look at it, Trevor, when the budget, health is a devolved function, but we see most decisions being taken at national government level. So the same applies to agriculture. Is it time that we began to be serious and honest with ourselves that maybe there's something that we have not, we failed to do. We fail to also appreciate when reports are given by the institutions that have been given the right to interrogate what our government performs. Let us allow them to criticize and point out the evil in government, and let us act on those reports.
Do you believe that the public service or the civil service is where the issues begin? Is there a need for restructuring there?
Therein lies most of our problems, because year in, year out we do budgets. By the time we begin preparing our budgets, there will always be people moving up or down in offices trying to secure funding for all manner of projects. Some ghost, some inflated deliberately, and then you brought budgets, because we have allowed our public service to also to do business. It's not an offense. All we see is somebody says, no, I also do this other business here and there. Whenever they are caught, of course, there are very many. It's always a drop in the ocean. The majority of the cases are never caught. We must begin by asking ourselves, how is it that they are not caught? Yet the Auditor General reports so much wastage, both during budgeting and also during implementation. In fact, the rot is so much that we need to begin asking ourselves, this thing we keep calling experience, is experience in doing what? If your only experience as a treasury mandarin is to siphon money, public resources, is that experience what they're talking about? Our youth, whenever they are looking for jobs, you hear they are not being employed because they lack experience. Where will they gain it from? I mean, surely, Trevor, we must begin by addressing that rot in the public service.
Yeah. And Speaker, Kipleting Manuela here says that our country is battling with corruption, high inflation, high unemployment, huge public debt, and businesses have shut down due to COVID-19. What will Muturi's presidency do in the first 100 days if elected president?
First of all, to address the issue of unemployment, we must first deal with the question of corruption, because we don't spend public resources where they are supposed to be spent properly, so as to spur and encourage others to invest in our country. Secondly, this excessive borrowing by government must come to an end, because obviously those out there who have ideas about business have nowhere to turn to for credit, because it's easier to lend to government. It is much more secure. The banks, of course, enjoy it year in, year out. In fact, just now we are seeing them reporting billions and billions of profits in the first 9 months. It's impossible to talk about unemployment, or employment creation in a situation whereby we are stifling private enterprise. And also, Trevor, we must deliberately go out of our way in the knowledge that most economies actually thrive or are driven by the medium and small and micro enterprises. We must go out of our way to ensure that we create a climate that encourages them to grow and thrive. Yeah. That way, we shall create employment.
Speaker, how do we deal with the debt burden?
Well, we have to come to terms with the fact that it is, really choking us, and ask ourselves: do we need debt? And if so, at what cost? How is it applied? Debt in itself is not bad, but how is it applied? It must be applied in the productive sectors of the economy, where it encourages those which I've just described to grow. So the first thing I think we need to do is we must, invite our creditors to a round table, discuss with them how it is that they can give us a moratorium to address some of our challenges. Because, even if you're going to borrow from wherever, you go and explain your situation so that people will understand where you are coming. If you ask for a within which you're not being asked to pay either the principal or even interest, so that you can try to sort out yourself, or reorganize yourself so as to be able to deal with that issue of debt repayment. But indeed, as you say, Trevor, it is a big challenge. And of course, it is a challenge to future generations, which we really must begin to address right away.
Okay. Speaker, I have to take a quick break here on Monday Report. When we come back, we're continuing with some of the questions that I see being sent in by quite a number of people here. I'll pose some of them to you as we wind up on this conversation. Keep them coming at Trevor Mbiji at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. I'll try to squeeze in as many of them as I can. All right? See you in a bit.
Wimbi porridge. Boil water, mix the porridge flour and water until smooth. Reduce the heat and add the flour mixture and let simmer. Add sugar, chia seeds and enjoy.
In this day and age, with all the information that you have,
I hope this is the last time I'm hearing about this.
Sometimes hatufanyi mambo kwa sababu tunapenda. Tunajipaka matope kwa sababu ya watoto wetu.
You are invited for a mega open day Saturday 11th December. To book your slot, text the word Nanyuki to 23953. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, your investment partner of choice.
Niaje? Ni kama unashangaa kwa nini naangalia simu with so much focus, eh? Usishangae sana. Nimekuwa ndani ya story kabisa.
Stay informed on all the news and events as they happen across the country, the continent, and the world at large. Download Citizen Digital, Kenya's #1 news app.
Citizen Digital.
Well, welcome back to the Monday Report Town Hall session. Let me pick some of your questions really quick and see what the Speaker has to say about them. Speaker, there's a concern here. He says dozens of bills are pending at the National Assembly, some going way back to 2019 when they were read at first time. These include some 3 constitutional amendment bills. There's a high chance some, if not most of these bills, will be lost at the expiry of the 12th Parliament. How is the National Assembly planning to salvage some of these when we know that MPs are busy on the campaign trail?
Thank you, Trevor. In fact, just to put the matter to rest, it is not the fear that they will lapse at the end of the 12th Parliament. They have actually lapsed. Our rules are that unless the House resolves to save any particular bill at whatever stage, if it goes beyond 2 sessions, which is 2 years, it lapses. And therefore, most of those, if not all, have actually lapsed. So there's even nothing to deal with in that regard, including those, not even those ones of constitutional amendment, several others. But the House was magnanimous enough. Remember, it's the House that makes the decision. Because of the COVID-19 situation last year, some of the bills which were read earlier in 2020 were actually saved by resolution of the House on Thursday last week.
Speaker, should the conversation around BBI be revived?
I think it's too late in the day to revive that conversation because I don't know where it will be going. And in any event, the Supreme Court is yet to express itself on that matter. Therefore, it would be sub judice to discuss it.
There's another concern here. As a speaker who seeks to be president, how will you manage assembly and parliamentary service duties at the same time your presidential bid? Will it be too much for you?
Well, remember the House, the days that the House sits, The House sits on Tuesday afternoon at 2:30 to 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays 9:30 to 1 and 2:30 to 7 p.m. Thursday 2:30 to 7 p.m. The Speaker presides only on Thursday afternoons, Wednesday afternoons, and Tuesday afternoons. Those are 3 sittings. The other times, the Deputy Speaker and the other members of the Speaker's panel preside. So there's still a lot of time for me to do my work as a candidate.
Okay, Kiprono Abraham Kogo says, I'd wish to know JB's economic model. It is now clear that the coming elections are centered on economic models. What is his model?
Economic models are not going to help this country because they are there. They have always been there. For me, I think the most important thing is, first of all, to strengthen devolution, because the Constitution 2010 gave us a very good thing called devolution in Clause 6. What was devolved? It was decision making from the center to the 47 counties, and alongside it, resources. But a very, very fundamental provision is in Article 10 and Article 118 on public participation. So that when we talk about strengthening devolution, is to ensure that the people at the grassroots, are the ones that make the decisions, are the ones who influence the decisions about implementation of projects and policies at the lowest level. And therefore, whatever economic model anyone will come up with, if it does not address the issue of strengthening devolution, because that's where our people are. We devolved because we wanted people to get the benefit from we remove power from the center, take it, disperse it. And apart from dispersing it and giving it to the county assemblies and the governors, we also brought in that Article 10 among the principles of governance, one of which is public participation. So strengthening public participation will ensure that whatever resources that are devolved, which are meant to address the issue of job creation, agriculture, trade, they are dealt with at that level, so that there is no question of people coming to the headquarters to come and ask for this or the other. And the headquarters, the national government, must only be left to do with the resources to deal with national issues. So that majority of the issues, as far as I'm concerned, Trevor, should be devolved, because that's what the Constitution requires us to do. We should actually be seeing more and more resources going to the devolved units, because it is there that whatever economic model you want to pursue will be best implemented and will have the greatest impact. So it's not about ideas being bad idea in Nairobi and kept in cupboards here in Nairobi, gaining dust, because we have very many ideas, but we need to see them being implemented at the grassroots. For me, that's more important than saying that I'll take this economic model or the other. It's not going to. And of course, Trevor, no matter what economic model you come up with, without addressing what is the biggest, the elephant in the room, which is runaway corruption, it will come to cropper. Okay. So let us know that we could have the best of ideas, but if there are no people to implement them, it is useless.
Okay. Speaker, there's some questions that have come through on video. Let me play the first one so that I get your response. And let's get the first video.
So if you had a chance today to pick between the presidency of Raila Odinga and William Ruto, hypothetically, they are the only two candidates on the ballot paper. Who would you pick?
You already answered that question, though. Let's get the next one.
I mean, why should I be? I haven't seen a situation whereby I'll be required to do that. We haven't come to that yet.
Okay.
I might remember it's also my right not to pick any.
All right, Speaker. Let's get the next question.
Is he seriously going for the seat, or he has been coerced by some other members to ask for the seat?
I'm beyond coercion. I have not been coerced by anybody to run for the presidency. It is my decision, having seen some of the problems that bedevil our country and feeling the desire to play a part in trying to alleviate the situation that I find most of our population in.
Okay. Next question.
What policies have you put in place to ensure that the common mwananchi is not suffering from a hike of prices of goods and services and even the fuel? What is the work of Parliament if not to help the common mwananchi be able to put food on the table through policies that are going to control the prices of, and things like that?
I'm sorry to say that, like one of my good friends always says, garbage in, garbage out. You get as good as you bargain for. The Speaker of our House of Parliament is not even allowed to vote, is not allowed to introduce a bill or a motion or even move an amendment to any of those. That is the sole responsibility of the members of Parliament. And therefore, the blame should go to all of us as Kenyans, because the people we elect must be people sufficiently responsible and people who appreciate the suffering of the people that have put them into office. So I'm sorry, I am not required to put into place any policy. It is the work of the institution of Parliament as institution, not the work of a speaker. Speaker presides, does not, and the Constitution says, the Speaker of the House of Parliament has no vote, and therefore I cannot be asked which policies are put in place. I'm now offering myself the opportunity, if granted by Kenyans, to put into place policies that will alleviate the suffering that you've mentioned.
Okay, let's bring up the next question.
I would just like to know what are his agendas, or he just wants to get somebody gaining powers in the region. Thank you.
What?
Speaker,
Sorry?
the question is, what is your top agenda when you get into the office as in the State House? Where does your priority lie? What do you want to start with?
Restore order in this country by insisting on integrity of all public servants and all state officers. Integrity is paramount. Accountability. Therefore, among top on my agenda will be the fight against corruption, which is the root cause of many of our problems in this country.
Speaker, how would you summarize your performance as a speaker in the National Assembly? What have you been able to achieve?
Well, I think what I can say is to the extent that you are able to steer the House, do their work as they are supposed to do, without a lot of acrimony. That is something that I can say has been a major achievement, because the other things is indeed the work is done by members. The Speaker's role being to preside and to ensure that there is fair play in the way business is transacted, both from the National Executive and from the private members, whether from the majority or the minority side, or from the independents. That I know I have done exceptionally well.
Okay, Speaker Kelvin Naibei here is wondering, It says, Trevor asked the Speaker for his opinion on the credibility and fairness of the next general election. Does he think it will be fair now that we are seeing CSs and PSs holding crucial ministries campaigning?
It is worrying, Trevor, when you see people who are not supposed to dabble in politics dabbling in it, and it puts to question the levels of fairness that we will expect in the next general election. But I believe it behoves the Electoral Boundaries Commission to, among other things, continuously consult with Kenyans and all stakeholders in the electoral processes, so as to give confidence that what indeed they are doing in preparing for the elections will be above board, and indeed that there is nothing, that there are no secret cards being kept somewhere, hidden somewhere. It's up to IBC indeed, really, to always consult Kenyans and tell Kenyans. They can stay for a whole month. They're not telling Kenyans what it is that they're doing. And the electoral management body should, as a way of building confidence in itself, continuously be feasible, especially at a time like this, where people should be there to ask them questions, let them consult with political parties and political players of whatever persuasion, so that everybody begins to develop confidence in the work that they are doing, and therefore in the general election.
Speaker, how will you deal with the youth issue? The youth issue is a big concern right now. Lack of jobs, lack of employment all the time.
Indeed, Trevor, the issue of youth is troubling, but you see, it cannot be dealt with by one size fits all. It must be multi-sectoral, multifaceted, so as to ensure that because the youth are the people, the bedrock of the country, and if we engage them productively, they will do wonders for the country, and therefore it is just to appreciate that you need them. You need the youth to be part and parcel of government. Indeed, like I'm saying, even in decision making, at whatever level, we need to encourage the youth not to feel despondent, but go out there, seek elective offices. Even as much as we roll out we hope to roll out other programs that would involve them in a great way. Of course, they are doing very well within the ICT sector, and I think it's an area that there should be a lot of encouragement among our youth to direct them in that direction.
How many of your ministries will be run by the youth, Speaker, if you become president?
My view is, Trevor, that we shouldn't have only one ministry, responsible for matters of youth. Indeed, I think Kenyans may have heard me argue that, President Kenyatta's cabinet was able to lay a firm foundation in this country because most of his ministers and permanent secretaries were very youthful. They were in their late 20s and early 30s, mid-30s. And these are the people who are capable of dreaming big for the country. And therefore, for me, remember, Trevor, I spoke about the issue of this insistence on experience. Those people who are running Kibaki's government, they didn't have any experience. But these people, the youth of this country, are sufficiently educated. All you need to do is tell them this is what we require of you to do, and they will do it. So for me, I think, without saying in great numbers, I would say that 70% at the very least would be run by youth and youthful people.
All right. Cosmas Kiplimo says, ask the Speaker how he will deal with respecting the Constitution.
What?
Speaker, Cosmas Kiplimo is wondering, how will you deal with the issue of respect for the Constitution in this country? Because we've seen some court orders being ignored. We've seen just a disrespect of the Constitution.
Well, it is to allow those, and then of course empower those that are supposed to ensure enforcement of obedience of court orders are doing their work, you know, because everybody is given a chance. You saw the other day, Trevor, the courts ruled, and I have my own views, which I am not at liberty to say about that decision, because I'd always held the view that the courts were likely to rule in the manner that they ruled. I think I've just been vindicated. But, you know, once the orders have been made, we have no option but to obey them until they are reversed.
Okay. Speaker, why should...
Everybody has an obligation and duty to respect and obey the Constitution if we are going to really uphold it.
Okay. Speaker, as we wind up on this, why should Kenyans elect you as the president?
I believe I offer a different way from the other array of candidates, and because I am, of course, I appreciate that I perhaps do not fit in the pedigree of those that Kenyans have had for the last few decades and years, but I have what it takes. I understand the government, and I think my desire and my vision is to see this country gain its pride of place amidst the family of nations, so that you know, we need to be proud as a country. And you know, when we are always ranked, you know, so highly among the most corrupt in the world, it does not, you know, it doesn't inspire confidence in anybody. You know, we have very many Kenyans out there who are willing to come back into the country and contribute to the growth, development of the country. But every time when they read some of these stories about us, you know, they really feel discouraged. One of the things that I would really want to ask Kenyans and to have trust in me is that I will slay the dragon of corruption.
All right. Speaker, thank you so much for making time for us this evening. Honorable Justin Muturi is the Speaker of the National Assembly, and he says he's vying for the president of this nation as the 5th president, all right? Speaker, by the way, there are many people asking that how come you haven't gone to see them and campaign in their places, or is it not the right time to campaign yet, like IBC say?
Well, it's because I've been running the house, and now that we are on recess, they should expect to see me very, very soon and much more frequently.
All right. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you for making time.
Thank you for having me, Trevor.
Asante sana, Honorable Justin Muturi, the Speaker of the National Assembly there. That's where we wind up the Monday Report Town Hall session. All right, it's just about the top of the hour. My name is Trevor Mbija. It's always a pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much for staying with Citizen TV. Keep it here. All right? Good night for now.